Alkaline is an artist who is no stranger to controversy, becoming one of the most hated and loved figures in the entire dancehall space. But none of his public fiascos quite stand out like his legendary battle with Squash and the entire camp of 6, which while it started out as just a few lyrical jabs back and forth, turned into one of the most morally repulsive and downright disrespectful clashes in dancehall history, including some of our favorite artists today. Because you see, Squash may be one of the biggest players in dancehall now, but he certainly didn't start out this way. It was only 2018 when him and the rest of his camp, 6, really started to make a name for themselves with songs like Trending and Anthem, with other affiliates like Chronicler also doing numbers of his own with songs like Hillside and Government. At this point in time, the 6 camp was mostly known for making feel-good music with good vibes and energy, like Beat Them Bad, as opposed to songs about violence. However, this was far from the case for their real-life situation. You see, 6 may have been a music camp, but they were affiliated with a very real gang called G-City. The G-City gang, originating from Montego Bay, has long been known as a formidable force in the island's criminal landscape, with influence so far and wide that it even extended beyond Jamaica's shores all the way to places like Florida, with some of their international activities even including a very notable altercation in Lauderhill, resulting in injuries to Squash and the deaths of several of his friends, showing that these guys are really about that life. But perhaps the most notable fact about this gang to the public eye is that Squash's affiliation came from the fact that the alleged leader of the gang was his own brother, known to the public as Dante. This of course gave him many connections and large amounts of criminal power. But their entire world was shaken up when Dante was fatally killed by police outside of his own home. This would mark a pivotal moment in Squash's life, and also one of the key points that would spark one of the biggest clashes in the modern era of dancehall. Alkaline, on the other hand, was just coming off the amazing success of his 2016 run, basking in the numbers of songs like Extra Lesson, Formula, Black Heart, and Juggernaut coming into 2019. Although his career was not necessarily peaking as it once was, he was maintaining a stable amount of popularity and dropping consistently good music. But this was around the time that out of nowhere, fans started to notice subtle subliminal shots being taken in his music. In fact, both Alkaline and Squash would occasionally have very questionable lyrics in their songs that would leave fans to wonder if they were dissing each other.
Yeah, it just seemed random, like it pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Squash
like,
versus Alkaline.
For a time it seemed like Squash did put out songs where it was perceived that they were aimed at Alkaline.
The most noteworthy example of this is on the song Depend Pon Nobody by Alkaline, which is generally speaking just an upbeat good vibe song, yet has lyrics like "Them last a miss up, style we will put down, and that them a pick up," and also "Them a no boss, them a basket, can't run the place or no go and run a CrossFit," which is seemingly making reference to what appears to be someone's weight, leaving a likely candidate to be Squash. As fans speculated back and forth about what was really going on behind the scenes that could cause these random disses between these two powerhouses, all suspicions were confirmed when Squash, just 48 hours later, responded to Alkaline on the song Bulldog, where he said the words, "Them run left them place and come back and it change up," referring to the fact that Alkaline migrated to overseas. And then also a more direct bar, "You coulda taller than the bamboo stick, press the Glock, the angle grip," which is of course directly confirming he's talking about Alkaline, since he's the only person that talks about his height in songs. He also went on to say, "From a run up of my gun out, make some little boy hype up and dead. Run up of my gun out, think man and them a size, them a smell themself. Just run up of my gun out. For this G6, they must lose them sense," and many other violent, gruesome, and gory lyrics toward the Vendetta boss himself. After this confirmation, fans instantly went into a state of anticipation as the clash was getting more and more real, and they were wondering if Alkaline was actually going to respond and further the beef. I mean, he was the bigger artist in the situation and could have chosen to ignore it if he really wanted to. And the days went on and on, continuing to pass with absolutely no reply from Alkaline, which only led people to assume that he took the road of silence. Perhaps he thought he was too big for the clash. However, that all changed on the day of August 27, the day that everything changed. Fans logged on to YouTube to see that Alkaline had just released a new song called State of Emergency.
And it did kind of surprise me that Alkaline even entertained this.
Right, because Alkaline seemed to be so remote.
Because in my view, he was winning with not responding. Like, to make this appear to be beneath him. Like, who is Squash?
And from this moment, everything absolutely hit the fan. This song contains some of the most disrespectful, violent, and gruesome lyrics you will ever hear in your life. Starting off by saying, when bad man go fi boy, pop it off and fire, bullet in a them head and in a face that wire. Me say anywhere I coulda in a traffic, march go over with the matic and left the car seat tragic. Detailing all of the violent things he plans to do when he sees Squash and his crew, and they're saying no matter where they are, even in broad daylight, they are not safe from him. He continues further down in the song by saying, use girl and dry him out, the killer them have tactics. Frightened for pussy ton eat that when them see fat crutches. Dark clouds everywhere me go, me wish on a try test. G go with the XD, give them bullet for digest. Brain marrow and blood splatter everywhere left them lifeless. Kill boy got me yard, fresh up get my night rest. Saying that Squash and his camp are so dumb and desperate for a little crumb of vagina that they would succumb to his tactics of sending in a female to gain his trust and set him up. He also goes on to further emphasize that he has no shame about doing this in broad daylight when he says kill boy got me yard, fresh up get my night rest, implying that he's obviously doing it before nighttime, almost like it's just another day job for him. But the worst, most diabolical part of the song is when he started the third verse by saying, go and shove up your turtleneck and see if on a dirt you get. Dead like your brother, only thing say a worse you get. Calling Squash both overweight and a coward, hiding in his shell like a turtle, and also referencing his late brother Dante, which took this from a normal lyrical clash all the way to a whole new level of disrespect. The Lord have no mercy and man not talk merciless. Thinking of your head before you chat, watch the words you make. Mind Marek forensic, then pick up your body. Wonder what you do and who you this for dead so badly. Implying that his murder would be so utterly brutal that even the very police would be traumatized upon finding the scene and wonder, what did he do to make them niggas that mad? Overall, this song was crazy and it had everybody on their toes jumping in excitement waiting for Squash's reply. And just 3 days later, they got what they wanted when Squash fired back with the song Pinocchio. And before you even listen to the song, you can see the top comment says, this sound like any old Squash catch Alkaline in a real life, him dead for real. He starts off the song by saying, yo Squidward, ya informer, making reference to Alkaline's nasal sounding voice that he puts on for his songs and also calling him a snitch. The verse then starts with, bad off of my own little youth, me no need company, so tell your police friend them for come for me. Saying that Alkaline was a coward for allegedly depending on other people to carry out his badness for him and accusing him of being a snitch working alongside the police. Whether or not this was based on some real or behind the scenes altercation or simply an insult, we may not know, but this would go on to be an ongoing theme in the song, following up with, yeah, I work with the feds and I call down state I emerge, walk through the place and the purge, I broadcast the man them crime scene and ever dep on the works, yeah informer, yeah got dirt. And also, pussy, man a killer you for know that. Born as a dopey, make the feds them after y'all kill my brother. Saying that unlike Alkaline, he is actually about his badness in real life. And he is so much about it and is so dangerous that the feds felt the need to literally kill his brother because he was too much of a threat. Unlike Alkaline, who Squash is calling a fake badman. And also went on to fire extra shots in the family direction by saying, blood a spill pon them ends, Shabdan go kill them friend, the laser beam the infrared, sperm's mouth carrier dead, with quote-unquote sperm's mouth Carrie being Alkaline's beloved sister and to this day still his manager. Which is a crazy line to say, but I mean hey, he did bring up his brother first, and then transitions into an extremely hilarious and disrespectful chorus that goes, you not kill nobody, you are Pinocchio. Lick pussy like dog, you are meow, and continues into the next verse by getting personal. Give them the con, me hear the rooster crow, which is making reference to Alkaline's father, who is known by the name Rooster, saying that he would crow when he kills him, and making matters worse by putting the sound effect of a rooster crowing in the background of the song. He also says, Salt Spring man them not afraid for shoot, family and friend them a get execute. Boardman dead already, him not get no youth. Calling out Alkaline on the notorious view that even at his grown age, he still allegedly has no children. And then finishes the song by saying, tell them say for make a step, every man a go dead automatic, just a make a bet. Ma blast the SK, you lick a skinny bone them a left your flesh. Tell them send no threat, mo smoke them like a cigarette. And hilariously ends it off by saying, now I don't know if that's true, and I'm not gonna make any assumptions explanations, but either way, it was hilarious, and this song was definitely a good reply to the previous diss. He addressed almost everything that was said about him and had a good comeback regarding the diss to his brother by reframing it as, yeah, of course they had to kill my brother. They didn't have a choice because he was just that guy, while you're just a snitch playing a role on the internet. And keep in mind that this is not the same Squash that we know today. The general public knew who Squash was for his feel-good music and vibe songs.
Even though there's an air of badness around him and even the whole Six movement, like Squash not really known for making like bad lyrical songs like that. You see me where Alkaline is, and we don't know him battle tested already.
So while we expect this from Squash, majority of the comments on this song were actually saying that they were very surprised and they had no idea that Squash was capable of being so tough on a war song. It also helped that Alkaline was very silent for a while after this song dropped. However, unfortunately for Squash, this victory lap was very short, because as much as his song was tough and took a while for people to digest, absolutely nobody could have been prepared for the absolute massacre that was about to follow in just a few days later. Squash and his fans had their time to celebrate and feel like they were on top of the world, but it was the day of September 6th, just 1 week since Pinocchio had been released, that we all got the notification that Alkaline had just dropped a new song called Death Announcements. And bro, believe me when I say that to this very day, I genuinely believe that this is the most disrespectful song I have ever heard in my life. Worse than Microwave, worse than Last Man Standing. I mean, listen, this is the type of song that if afterwards we ended up seeing Alkaline on the news for losing his life over this, I would not condone it, but I would see why it happened. But first, to understand the deep layers of lore in this song, we need to give a bit of context. You see, according to articles I found online, apparently Squash's mother was allegedly known by people in that area for dealing with younger men, some of which were allegedly Squash's very own friends. This was not particularly known information, but somehow Alkaline got a hold of it and absolutely ran into the sunset. Niam F, boy Force Stripe, well place to say I no kill a them or them a boss like. Pussy, you will get your throat sliced. Maurice my rifle upon your temple in a real life on a fortnight. Basically saying that Squash not only partakes in the eating of the forbidden fruit, but also saying that the public opinion of him in his own area is that he and his friends are not real gangsters, but Alkaline is really about what he says. He then goes on to finish this section by saying, your friend them a set you up for funeral, you little puppet. Tell the world how it feel to see a mama and know your dog them a f it. And it was at this moment that the clash absolutely exploded. I mean, just imagine the level of disrespect it is to call someone's mother out for sleeping with their own friends and make that be their public reputation. But to make matters worse, directly after Alkaline posted the song, he went on his Instagram story to further the disrespect by posting up a picture of Squash's mother in an intimate pose with a young man. This of course led fans to do even more research, and they were actually able to discover some very interesting, dare I say, evidence about Squash's mother, but more on that later. The song continues after the beat drop, where he says, catch up on the spot, coward, a dessa yaga finish. Babylon ya par with last time I check, hold on a minute. Girl them all attack say on a greener than a spinach. Suck your mama pussy, shit belly, you not an image. Good anyway we going at the street, you dunce. You why your man for call your name, me make the Madden pronounce you. Making reference to Madden's funeral home, which is located in Squash's hometown, Montego Bay. Same man them will box your little pleasure them monks you. And you want to tell me say you a wicked man, you little punk you. Saying that the same men who apparently assaulted his companions are the same men that he still hangs around to this day, which seems crazy to Alkaline, and he's in shock that Squash expects him to believe that he's a real bad man if he allowed something like that. The next verse gets even more disrespectful when he repeats a part of the song, but instead calls Squash's mother by name. Your friend them a set you up for funeral, you little puppet. Talk all your mama shelly dog out till all your friend them a f it. Which dog out meaning that he's calling her promiscuous. But this is where things get interesting, as Alkaline extends his fire in a broader direction and seems to take aim at another member of the camp. All the ugly one day think him a Ricky Rudy, no qualify for war the Lord no time, you still a newbie. Mind feel you ready cause you watched up a movie or get glimpse from couple strap, the boy not get no coochie. Saying that whoever he's talking about is still fresh and new in the game, and just because he thinks he knows badness from watching movies does not mean he's ready to war Alkaline himself. Although he did not call any names, if we look at the cover art, the only people really present are Squash and his producer Shabdan. However, there is a possibility that it could also be about Chronicler, but more on that later. Alkaline then goes on to say that he knows exactly where Squash and his unnamed companion are living, and goes on to state the area, finding it amusing that they actually think they're safe from him. He then immediately addresses the personal jab made toward his family, talking about his father, when he says, "Can't say rooster dog and make no foul play. You will get conned without the flakes. You're just a lip man, don't play." Now, of course, this is a double entendre because Alkaline is saying Squash is dissing his father Rooster and is also involved in quote-unquote foul play, which means shady activities, which a fowl, otherwise known as a hen, is a female chicken, calling Squash a gal, where he also segues into another double entendre, making a play on the Kellogg's cornflakes and its logo, which is of course a rooster. You will get conned without the flakes. He also continues with another entendre when he says, "Your general a freaky boy was the 9 after the 6, calling Squash a participant in the forbidden 69 position, connecting it to the fact that if you actually take the spelling of 6, the IX actually means 9 in Roman numerals. So spelling out 6 like that actually reads 69. And he could have also been saying that despite being a bad man and in 6, Squash was about to see the 9, which of course is referring to the famous Glock 9 pistol. He then followed this up with some words for Chronicler, where he says, "Me will kill you faster than sugar or a chronic illness. Everything you take up like you hold him wood when him a piss." Using wordplay to make fun of both Chronicler and Squash's weights, and also saying Chronicler loves to take up Squash's problems as his own because he did try to enter this beef with the song One Talk that was released after State of Emergency but did not get that much buzz because it wasn't necessarily an explicit diss. He then proceeded to end off the song with the chorus, and of course this song absolutely exploded and took a closely drawn beef between two massive dancehall artists all the way into Alkaline's favor. To make matters worse, like I said before, fans saw the lines about Squash's mother and did some digging of their own and found even more evidence that seems to support what Alkaline may have been saying on the song. On an article from urbanislands.com, we can see screenshots from Pink Wall back in 2019 of people sending in confessions about Squash's mom, and others sharing their views about how they think what she's doing is disrespectful and affecting Squash's reputation, with there even being rumors that she was apparently involved with fellow Six Camp artist Daddy One, leading fans to make jokes and call him Squash's stepfather. Of course, she did not take lightly to this and responded with this video.
Well, uno just begs, or no broke, uno have nothing. My man nice, and people man me take an all that, you know. So the girl go upset because they can't want nobody. I'm bad. 6 is fucking real. 6 son and cute. And I want an old man. You can't stay there in a front and keep pay old man. Pink Wall, you see all the haters, them pan Pink Wall on us bros because guess what? I'm sure to God, my man don't want uno. So uno no live nowhere, uno life low, uno broke. Uno get on put on this one bag of makeup like a work with blood class shirt. William, you can't talk to me, you know. Every girl loves 6. And me, my son, we are relevant. Birdman is relevant. So all you haters, make go to sleep this night, make you can't sleep and you can't eat. When you go fret till you're dead.
And of course, she was not the only one who didn't take this lightly, as Squash still had an entire diss track to respond to. And respond he did, because just a few days later, he dropped the song Funeral Program with a hilarious cover art mocking that of death announcements, showcasing each member of Alkaline's crew. And as you can see here, we have the famous Gerland Bartley, a play on Alkaline's real name, Erland Bartley, right next to Fleego, who is Alkaline's producer, Gigo. And most disrespectfully, images of his own mother and sister. However, unfortunately, the cover art is probably the most disrespectful thing about this song, because the people did not like it. Just by reading the comment section, you can see things like, "Yo Squash, delete this quick before more people see it." And when the real song a drop, all who are listen to this and feel like them still await for Squash reply to death announcements like this. And the funniest one to me, wasn't expecting anything better from Squash. In other words, I'm not disappointed. And here's another honorable mention. But anyways, the people had a lot of negative things to say. And I mean, the song wasn't bad. It had some decent responses like, "Me no watch girl, much less for watch my mother Shelly. Go talk to your mother and stink pussy Kerry," where he traded family for family disses. But to go from Pinocchio to Squash saying lines like, 7'6" tall like KFC chicken leg, we're just not going to cut it when compared next to the sheer deep lyricism and embarrassing disrespect of death announcements. All in all, it just felt like a regular gun song. And so, with that being said, in the eyes of the public, Squash had been defeated. And to make matters even worse, Alkaline actually responded with another track just 24 hours later called Most Wanted. At this point, it was game over. Squash had been overwhelmed by one song that he failed to respond properly to, and before he could even breathe, he had another song on his back to reply to again. At this point, there was nothing he could do. Or so he thought. Some people had seemed to forget that Squash was not the only member of Six, and in some of the songs, Alkaline had thrown jabs at a sleeping beast who doesn't usually get involved in controversy. But if you provoke that bear, he will turn into a deadly opponent. And provoke him he did. Because just 24 hours after fans were celebrating Alkaline's victory over his peer, Chronicler decided to swap in with his friend and enter the beef, a man who many would say has a similar lyrical power level to Alkaline. And with these two titans about to square off, nobody knew what was going to happen next. If you want to hear the full story of dancehall's most underrated clash, the battle between Alkaline and Chronicler, and the continuation of the war against Six, subscribe to the channel for when the part 2 of this video drops. And as always, until then, the dancehall has been decoded.